Hello, my name is Lori Blatzheim, and I am a writer and blogger. Welcome to our show, Read My Thoughts. Our program is dedicated to writers and how they write. You will meet one and then watch as I interview that person. This should help us understand the what, why, when, how, and where we present our writing. Next, the writer will show us examples of work he has done. Following that, we will show you a short film of our writer reading for a community audience. Let me introduce you to our featured writer. This person is author of the Japan series, Mysterious Stories Related to Japan. He holds a Master of Arts in Advanced Japanese Studies. He lived in Japan for 12 years, traveling extensively within Japan and around Asia. He is a Saori Freestyle Weaving Leaders Committee member and is fascinated by the world of languages and cultures. This person is a member of the Chanhassen Writers Group and founder of the Authors Collective, a group of collaborating local authors. He is sharing his experience in Japan with the world by producing quality cultural novels that people can learn from and enjoy. His website is www.japanseries.com, and he welcomes comments and sharing on his blog focusing on growth and connection among beings, which can be found on the website. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome Dan O'Brien.
Thank you very much, Lori.
Yeah.
It's nice to be here.
Thank you. It's nice to have you. I've been looking forward to hearing about your time in Japan, and so I have some questions that I'm going to be asking you.
Wonderful. I look forward to it.
Okay, great. Well, one of my questions is, I've known you for a long time, but I never knew why you happened to go to Japan. Could you talk to us or tell us a bit about your decision to go over there?
Well, you know, I'm passionate about languages and world cultures. Love it. So I really wanted to learn another language. And Japan was the chance I had to learn another language. So I went to Japan thinking I could learn a language in 1 year.
Wow.
It doesn't happen.
Does
it takes like 5 or 6 years to get comfortable with the language, and I stayed there for 12, and Japanese took 12 years to get really good at.
Wow, that is really something. And what was it in Japan that encouraged you to stay? What were you doing while you were over there?
Well, you know, I was interested in the culture. I really wanted to take it on board and have it become part of me. So I stayed there. I had many experiences. I did get married to a Japanese woman, and we lived together in Japan for a while. It was a chance to, before moving to the United States, also be able to live in Japan and have an experience of life together in Japan, right? Traveling around Japan. I love traveling, learning about new places, and sharing.
So that must have been kind of eye-opening to be able to travel around Japan. Do you have any favorite places that you went to? Or?
Well, I had the good fortune to live in Kyoto.
Okay.
I lived in Kyoto, which was the Heian capital, years and years ago. Kyoto is this beautiful town that's got classical old temples, a lot of shrines. It's really a fascinating place. If you want to learn about Japanese culture, many people say go to Kyoto. So that's one of my favorites.
Are there mountains where Kyoto is, or is it flat?
Well, basically, they say Kyoto is a bonchi, which means it's kind of surrounded by mountains, almost like a platter, right? But Japan has, wherever people are, there are mountains. 2/3 of the country are mountainous.
Really?
In Japan, yep.
Oh, I had no idea. Okay. Okay, so you started writing in Japan?
Yes.
Okay. And one of my questions is, are your books written in English and Japanese?
No, that's kind of a funny story. I started to write this story in Japanese, and the story itself took 10 years to write, even in English. So I gave up after writing about 30 pages in Japanese because I thought this is never going to happen. It's hard enough writing in one's own language, you know, and editing and learning how to put a novel together. So that 10-year process was part of that personal growth I'm on, and being able to complete a book. But in Japanese, it would have taken considerably longer.
Okay. I know that you read your work for public audiences.
Yeah.
Do you think it is important for writers to read examples of their work?
Well, I think each of us brings a different thing, because there's a group of about 15 to 20 people that do readings with us. I know you've done some readings with us too. And I think each person gets something else out of it, something different. For me, it's a chance to share and see how people respond to what I'm reading and respond to the novel. Other people are just having fun reading poetry and things like that. But I think when I kind of listen in the background and hear about the writers, everyone seems to really, this, not even planned, we have this sort of community that's come out of it.
We do
right?
have a community.
Yeah. And so the last year and a half or so, we've been reading in public, and we've really formed a community of authors that are working together to help each other get better.
Are there additional benefits to reading in public that you've found out?
Well, it's a chance for us to also have each writer give us input as well.
Oh.
So the writers themselves give each other input about, someone might have an idea about a story, or it brings something to mind. And so, like being a member of the Chanhassen Writers Group and Authors Collective, we get together to help each other get better at writing and or publishing novels. And I think that's the benefit that I see in it too, is bringing people together and even learning how to do that. I'm the one who sets up the readings, and I'm growing as a leader that way too.
I know for myself, when I first started reading, I had all these questions like, should I wear glasses?
Right, of course.
How should I present what I'm going to talk about, and which one of my little pieces that, I'm a blogger, and so I usually have 2 to 3 page articles or posts that I can read from, and the idea is what would the audience like to hear? But at first when I started, I think it took a while for us to really feel comfortable reading. And the one other thing I think is so important is for us to practice before we start that.
Definitely.
I think it's really helpful.
Well, and one thing I think we found, kind of that group thinking together, we found that introducing your work. So if you're an author writing, watching this now, and you're interested in reading in public, make sure you sort of introduce your work and give some background before reading, instead of thinking that the person will be able to get into your reading right away. The
other thing I think is that for writers, as they go along, sooner or later they're going to be reading for the public in some sort of situation, as we actually are doing tonight.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you. I viewed your online blog site and thought your posts were valuable to the reader. Do you think it helps writers to have a blog site, and why?
Well, in this day and age, I think it's really helpful to have a blog site to communicate with people, to let them know what your work is about. My focus when I blog is on personal growth and connection, because my sort of goal statement that I have for myself is encouraging and supporting personal growth and connection among beings. So my blog posts tend to lean toward that way. Here's a personal growth, like how to be more aware in your daily life or something like that. But also sharing things I learned in the writers group as well. There's some posts about writing as well. Right?
I also think it helps you to become known. Let's face it, if you're a writer and if you want to create books or something that is a product of you, you need to be known on one level or another. That we have different ways of doing that, but I have, for my blogging audience, it's wonderful because they do comment on things that I've written, and I have this opportunity to become known. I don't know how others feel about that.
I think that totally makes sense, right? People would need to be known. It's also a really good format for sharing yourself, right? And so it's a good way to share, and it can be a give and take when people make comments on the website.
Right. Okay.